Hello, and welcome to Boot Camp Unit 3C, Operations with Signed Numbers. We're going to be actually doing things with negative numbers now, and that's why they're called signed, because there is a sign out front. We have things like -3, which is -3, and we have +5, and now we're really looking at how those things interact when we try to do things with them. But first, let's talk about adding. And we're going to describe this using what we call the tug of war on the number line. If we're starting at -3 plus 5, well, think of it like money. If I owe the bank $3 and I put $5 in, I better have a positive balance because the money that I'm putting in will overpower how much I owe. Looking at it on the number line, if I'm starting here at -3, I'm going to hop 5 units to the right. Addition is always to the right. So if we move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we will end up at 2. Now, this gets a bit tricky when you have more than one sign at once. Subtraction is going to be moving to the left. If we have -3 minus 1, we'll have -4. We are moving to the left. If we start at -3 on the number line and move 1 to the left, we will end up at -4. Think of it like money once again. If I owe the bank $3 and I borrow another, I will now owe the bank $4. I'm going to be more in debt. So the question is going to end up becoming, which number is stronger? If we have something like 5 plus a -3, well, if I have $5 in my account and I am spending 3, I'm still going to have 2 left over. Starting at 5, moving over 3 will get us to 2. It's called tug of war then because it's always talking about that strength. Which one is stronger, the positive number or the negative number, and how they interact. Subtracting negative numbers is the one that's kind of tricky. The one to note here is when you minus a negative, it becomes just a positive in the middle. So looking at number 5 on this page, -5 minus a -2, well, when you see minus a negative, we're going to think of that as a positive. -5 plus 2, ooh, that's adding, as we've done before. -5 plus 2 is -3. Now, if we have to subtract a positive, it will turn into a minus. In other words, 2 negative signs that you see will cancel each other out into a positive. 1 negative sign will just remain negative. We'll see that more, especially in a moment. If we're doing -5 minus a +2, we have 1 negative sign, which makes the whole thing a minus, a subtraction. -5 take away 2, 2 to the left on the number line. Or if I owe the bank $5 and I spend 2 more, I will now owe the bank $7. Multiplication and division. You always want to look at how many negative signs you have. The key here is that a negative times a negative is a positive. If I have -3 times -4, well, that will end up being +12. The negatives will cancel out. In the same vein, -3 times 5, we only have 1 negative sign there, so they can't cancel out. -3 times 5 is -15, which brings us to if we're trying to do a whole bunch of multiplication at once. If we were to do -1 times -1 times -1, we have 3 negative signs. The first 2 will cancel, and the third one will take control. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, so our final answer will be -1. In other words, if you count the number of negative signs and it's even, we're going to have a positive answer. If you count up how many negative signs you have and it's odd, then we will have a negative answer at the end. This was Unit 3C, Operation with Signed Numbers.